Welcome into the Real Kyper and Show after a super weekend. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Derek Brandeo, Jake Schultz with you. Schultz. Jake the Snake. Am I choking? Or is that just Kansas City?
Oh. A lot of Kansas City choke job jokes today.
Yeah. Well, listen, plenty to get into. This is a 2-hour program. We'll continue on our Leaf edition this hour, wherever you're watching, listening, Sportsnet 590, The Fan, Sportsnet 360, Sportsnet Plus. Glad you are aboard. And then we'll go into our national hour where we'll welcome in Jason Bukala. Always great to have him and his scouting expertise. Plenty to get into as we go into Four Nations this week. Mm-hmm. That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
In the meantime, we should clean up so far the Toronto Maple Leafs season up until this point, more specifically Saturday night against a Vancouver Canuck hockey club where they could have found themselves still with a point or two. Not saying that they deserved one, because I certainly didn't think that they did. Did not like their game in particular. But leaving yourself on the fourth game of a Western road trip where you could still manage to squeeze something out was not bad.
Not bad. Yeah, well, we'll give it a hard not bad on that.
Yeah.
There's plenty to go through in terms of who you liked, who you didn't like, and all that. But you zoom out, 4-game road trip against some pretty good teams. You get 6 points. I think a lot of people looking towards the break at that point. I don't know. The last couple games of that trip, not exactly the most thrilling hockey. Maybe that was just me, but.
Yeah, I think you pair the fact that a lot of these guys realized that they were about to go on a long break with it being the last game of a 4-game Western road trip, that you maybe saw the result of that a little bit throughout that game, especially with maybe some of the Leafs stars that were potentially looking forward to Four Nations face-off game where I didn't think any of them were particularly good, so maybe that had something to do with it. But
even that, Sammy, it's 1-1, and Willie has a breakaway, 7 minutes left in the game. Like it could have
puck rolls off his stick for sure. They were in the game. They played hard, I guess, whatever. But I think a lot of them were kind of looking ahead a little bit. Didn't you get that feeling?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Want to go to Craig Berube's assessment of the road trip?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. We'll start that on our first Kyper's Clipper of the week.
Yeah, very satisfied. I thought that, we played really good hockey tonight again. It was a competitive game. I thought they were a little bit better than us in the first, but I thought we were the better team in the second, and the third was pretty even. But, they're a good team over there. They work extremely hard, and I thought our guys were very competitive tonight, and the effort was there.
Yeah, I didn't see the same hockey game he saw.
No?
No.
What do you disagree
I just thought,
with?
We do not agree.
I thought Vancouver was better, harder on pucks, spent more time cycling, just hungrier. And, if it's the end of a road trip to, your point or Sammy's point, that big picture stuff, okay, I get that. Yeah. But I didn't particularly like their game Saturday.
Best player on the rink might have been Elias Pettersson, guy who's much maligned, old EP40. I thought he had the puck a lot for the Canucks. And the top guys on Toronto weren't top guys. We've
been saying that a lot.
Think so?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like they need them to score, they don't win.
Yeah.
And they had a night where I didn't think they were great. That Tavares, Willie, Marner combo.
Totally.
Didn't work.
No, didn't.
And you have to take into account that the Leafs literally never win this game. They've lost 8 straight at Vancouver.
Yeah, no, it's bigger than that too, Sammy. It's like 17 of 19 or something.
Yeah,
going from way back, they've been terrible.
They played a few extra, obviously, during the COVID
hate
thing.
That you even brought that up.
They just never beat them
because it's not. This team isn't the same team as the one that's lost
your point there.
6 times before that. So what you're going through is more of a fan energy,
random statistic,
crapola excuse.
there are certain things in sports that are trends that just happen. Like, I mean, the Leafs have won every game in Edmonton for however many years.
But I'm with Kip. I typically, one of my least favorite stats is historic record versus a team. It's like, okay.
And when was the last time they went in and had the type of goaltending that Wall or Stolarz has given them the whole year?
Yeah, well, they've often had different players. Totally.
I'm just pointing out that they have lost 8 straight games there.
Yeah, thanks.
That's they don't lose, like their record against pretty much everybody is pretty good in the regular season. Like they have long winning streaks against a lot of franchises. For them over this era to have 8 straight losses in a barn is a noteworthy
anomaly.
That's
it is. It's wow.
And it's
holy smoking Joes. Anyway, let's talk about the game.
And the worst thing in the world is if you continually thinking that you're going to have conversations like they could have easily lost if it wasn't for Joseph Wall. They could have easily lost if it wasn't for Stolarz. They weren't better Saturday night. They deserved to lose, and they lost.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be the way it should work.
Right.
So I'm kind of glad for them that, they're not having another way to go back and say, wow, Joseph Wall was unbelievable and saved the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're going to come out of this 4 Nations. Don't know whether or not the roster will be completely the same as the one you have now. Who knows what happens between now and, I don't know, February 22nd.
First game back against Carolina.
Against Carolina. Will they have a new look? Will there be a centerman in the lineup or not?
Yeah. I know they technically can trade, Kip, but it sounds like they don't want them to trade the league, right? This is the NHL's baby. They want the attention on it.
So if there's a deal that I want to make now, or I don't want to give a team much longer than 24, 48 hours to think about it or shop or they're talking.
Yeah.
Okay? They're going to talk every day.
And you want to get someone in and set up if you can do it.
Part of making an NHL trade, and a big part, is respecting the opposition to have some time to think about it, but not a ton of time to think about it, and then moving on. I believe that someone's gonna, with so many teams in it, and the competition to get players with so many teams in it, I can see one of them going, Gary, I'm sorry, but I just
apologize.
I want that player.
Apologize, but I needed to make this trade, and I needed to make it now.
And I wonder if now is not the right time, like Monday today or Tuesday tomorrow. Like the tournament gets going Wednesday, could do it now.
Yes,
right
absolutely.
this second.
Scott Lawton, rumors circling.
What's that old saying?
Swirling, if you will.
Begging for forgiveness is easier.
Don't ask for permission.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Permission and forgiveness.
Better to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission. I'll stop.
Correct. You nailed it on your final attempt.
Thanks.
You did. So they've got, if Tree Living worked at Walmart, he'd have a cleanup in aisle 7. We know that.
And the cleanup is
the roster, the play.
How much of a mess?
Well, yeah, you need
carton eggs on the floor.
You can't score. You either score 6 like you did the other night, or you score 2
or 1. Watching that game on Saturday night, and the scoring clearly has been something where it's been really up and down, like you mentioned. But outside of the top 4 guys, if you go into the playoffs with the way your decor looks right now, you're going to have 12 to 13 minutes of either Benoit, Timmins, Myers, whoever it is playing on your bottom pair. And I know you shouldn't get too bent out of shape about the bottom, but I got to tell you, like that bottom pair on Saturday night with Benoit and Myers, and just having to overplay these other guys, that I know they need scoring, but that decor to me, and you mentioned this before the show, but one of your top 4 guys goes down, you're immediately got Myers in the top half of your decor. It's just, they really do, to me, need an upgrade on the decor. Like, quite badly, in fact.
I think what's interesting is because they don't have a number 1D, because they don't have that top dog, they really need to be great by committee. Morgan playing better, which we'll talk about, I'm sure. Yeah. McCabe, OEL, Tanev. any of them go down, all of a sudden it's too many seat fillers and not enough guys. So
they need another threat back there. And Morgan's starting to come along, right?
Offensive threat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Morgan's starting to come along. You can see him more involved.
Great trip for him.
He's thinking quicker. He's moving quicker. He looks quicker. He looks like he's anticipating where to be. Better timing.
He's just starting to skate and then figure it out. The first step is happening.
But outside of that now, who's your second biggest threat? OEL. I'm watching OEL take some bad penalties this year.
I think he leads the team in minors.
You know what stunk about that play is that he was a great play.
He was good on
overall
Saturday, I thought.
For the bad penalty.
I thought he was good.
And then somehow they find a way to score when he's in the box, too.
Yeah, there's got to be some stat on that, although it would just be randomness as well.
No, he's taken at least 5 or 6 penalties where I've seen him with a shameful skate across when they drop the puck at center ice.
Come on.
So, the really easy trade to talk about, and there's rumors swirling over the weekend about Scott Laughton, and the guy that a lot of people are throwing into that conversation naturally on the Flyers is Ristolainen, right? Who's going to be? I think he's missing.
5 plus,
I think he's missing the 4 Nations due to injury, so I'm not sure. But is that the threat you're looking for? Has he ever scored 10 goals in his career?
No.
That's not the threat you're looking for.
I think he scored
more of the same.
18 2 years ago.
Really?
So many.
18 2 years ago. And
No.
Scott Laughton?
Okay.
Ristolainen.
Oh, I'm sorry. No.
Yeah.
Last year, Ristolainen had 1.
I'm on Scott Laughton right now. That's not high enough for me.
Okay.
You need to go get a guy that can push John Tavares potentially out of the second slot.
Who's that going to be?
Shen, Cousins. That's a high-end move. Scott Laughton has scored 18 goals once in 10, 12 years. The rest of the time, it's 10 goals, 11 goals.
He had 13 in 82
goals.
games last year.
13.
He's at 11 this year, though. He's on pace for 19.
It's not high enough for me.
I'm with you.
If you're watching, I guess it depends on what you're trying to do. But this team has been running out Pontus Holmberg at second line center and third line center. And,
you're better.
He plays
better when you get him, for sure.
He plays can you picture yourself in the playoffs running a line at some point? You're going to move Willie up and down. I understand that, but with Willie McMahon or Scott Laughton or Tavares McMahon, I think you get bogged down in trying to find somebody who's better than Tavares. Tavares is a point per game player who's been shooting into the net a ton. He's got over 20 goals.
But what happens if Tavares gets hurt?
Well,
what happens if he twists the knee? Who's stepping in? You've lost confidence in Max.
Yeah.
So who?
I don't know.
Who? Right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Owl edition of our show.
Yeah. No, that's a very real issue that needs addressing.
An issue here, right? You're talking about a 34-year-old centerman who's okay, right? We're not sure. He's not a great playoff performer.
Yeah.
Never been out of the first.
Yeah, he once.
Never been out of the second round.
Correct.
Let me ask you a
right?
question.
You need backup there.
Long term for the Leafs, you like Cousins more than Shen. I think for sure you'd say yes to that.
With their 10 years difference
Right.
in age.
Short term, this year, which guy gives them a better chance to win the Stanley Cup?
Shen.
Crap.
But I don't think Shen is better than Tavares is right now. I think we're underrating Tavares.
Gosh.
I think you're talking about different hockey players.
I'm talking about style of play in the playoffs.
Okay.
That guy, Sammy.
Yeah.
That guy goes against Bennett.
I understand.
Okay.
I completely understand what you're saying here, but I think you're a better team if you have John Tavares as your second line center than Braden Shen at his age too. I think it's a different conversation,
One's
I guess.
a proven playoff.
For sure.
Stanley Cup champion. The other guy I told you has never seen the light of day of a third round.
I understand what you're saying. I just, I really do think that Tavares is being underrated in this conversation. And you're talking about him he's been the most durable guy in the Leafs over this whole time. He's played almost every game they've had.
And if you need
one freak
if
injury.
you need to start Shen at the third line.
Yes, sure. Then we're talking.
Or you want to put him on the left side.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that too. But I'm saying that if it falters, if you need to change things up, you need to slide a guy right into that second hole. And I'm not sure Scott Lawton does it for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think Schenn is the short-term solution. He's, also on pace to be just under 20 goals this year, but we know he gives you a different type of minutes than most guys.
The other thing too, and listen, I'm not firing John Tavares, okay? I'm not telling you to get rid of him before the season's over, but if you also get a guy like Schenn or Cousins, it gives you tremendous flexibility to say to John, if you want to come back, here's the number and here's your role. But you're not second line centerman next year either. As you turn 35, it's time to move on.
So yeah, I just okay. I just feel like going on sort of like I don't think next year if Braden Schenn is your second line center versus John Tavares, you're a better team. Like I mean, Braden Schenn's older
Matthews,
too.
Schenn, you're a better team.
Okay. I mean, he's almost 34
okay.
years old.
You can disagree.
I do disagree.
Yeah, I'd say that's
okay.
100% a stylistic preference.
Yeah.
Like, shocking playoff stats. Tavares has 23 playoff goals in 62 games. Schenn has 11 in 70 games. They're very different offensive outputs.
Very different.
But I know what you're talking about. You're talking about something different.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right. So
be a huge help to this team.
Thoughts on Marner, Tavares, and Willie while we're at it?
Yeah, nothing there. Nothing there. Did they have any moments where you're like, ooh, like,
no.
It just, I know they barely played together. It was like 5 periods or something like that, but there was no moment where it seemed like we got something here.
We have a clip from the coach on it. Would you play clip 2, please, Derek?
I don't know. It was 2 games, or not even full 2 games, but I think just for me, a lot of it is a guy getting in there in a forecheck and getting to the net and just being that kind of rock. They all want the puck a lot. It's a lot. But hey, it wasn't a big sample size, so I made the switch right at the end of the second period and just kind of juggled some lines in the third a little bit.
If these 3 cannot play together and look good, then you're really limited. Really limited.
Well, I actually disagree. I just feel like at least you can spread them out. Like they're no better as a line than they are with 2 of them and whoever.
Where you're spreading them?
Well, I mean, take any one of them and put that guy in the third line, and the second line is no worse and the third line's better. Like they give you nothing out of that. So could Willie play with
third line?
Yeah, can Willie play with McMahon and Domi? Can
maybe short term, but like
Marner play with them?
It won't be enough.
No,
it won't be enough.
No, I agree. It's not enough, but there's nothing there for them to get.
Like I said, it limits you.
Yeah,
but
it's an option you can't use. So yeah.
Did you see anything out of them that would be like, me neither.
I did not.
Nothing.
It's a really good point. Just like you got to tell them not to dump the puck because no one can go.
Then you're right back to Matthews and Marner. I know you wrote that article last week on how it's either this look or you got to go find another look.
Yeah. Last year going into playoffs, who was it with Matthews, Domi, and who?
Bertuzzi.
Yep. Can you do pairs of Willie and Matthews, Marner and Tavares again, and, go from there? Or can you try 3 lines? We've only been saying that for 5 years. Could we try 3 lines? But
I don't.
You go to jail if you do that.
I think
not allowed. To
and I'm not going back, but I am going to go back. If you have another highly skilled kind of guy in the middle, wow, it opens up way more options now. And that's where they're just handcuffed a little bit.
Yeah, it would be awesome.
Yeah,
totally on board. Everyone's a yes on that.
Yeah. So will
they try the line again? Should we listen to him?
That's a great clip. Why don't we play that,
Ruby?
Yeah.
Would I try it again? Maybe. Who knows, right? We'll see down the road what happens and where it goes. I mean, you're always kind of moving guys around a little bit and trying to find a little more offense. We couldn't find it back in the net enough tonight.
Remember when somebody asked Keefe about playing? Remember they played Sandin and Morgan Riley together? He's like, "Will that be a look that you'll go back to?" No.
Yeah.
And then he literally never did it ever again.
I've seen enough.
Matthews, Tavares, and Willie, like, they're really highly skilled guys. Like, they should be able to kind of figure it out. But I think it was just before Willie's breakaway.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they gave up a 140-foot 3-on-2. You know,
Yeah.
It could easily have been in the Leaf net, and Willie doesn't get an opportunity to hang back and poach.
Yeah, it does change things.
I
for sure.
don't know. Like,
Maybe Matthews, if they're doing a super line, Matthews at center changes that, and one of those other guys plays with the other best two guys. I don't know, but it doesn't seem like super line's a great option.
No,
for this club.
You know, they're trying their best to make the Domi thing happen with Nyes, and like I think he's looked somewhat better, I guess, because he's playing with good players. He ends up with an assist, but like it's just not.
It's not second power play.
It's not. It's not undeniably great where you have to keep going back to it. So
you guys remember the play against the Flames where he got the puck in the slot and turned away from the open slot?
Yeah,
it's just like all these guys you're talking about, these big salary guys. Max is in trouble here. Like he makes, was it 3.75? They got to move some money.
You can't go you can't go get a big name centerman without moving money out.
Someone has to go.
And I don't know. Were they showcasing Max a little bit, playing on the top line?
Or if not showcasing him, just being like, this worked last year with Matthews. Can we find out if we can use it? And I'm not saying, it needs to happen. I'm saying that if you're looking at a big name and money has to go out, it doesn't take long till you end up there.
Yeah.
Like, just do the math. That's all. It's not, it's not even opinion.
Yeah.
Just do the math.
It might still not be enough to get his 3.5 out. You might have to tack on another Holmberg or.
Thing is,
I tell you what, if I was any team and Toronto's knocking on my door, I'm asking for McMahon.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
they're just not doing that.
No, they're
playoffs.
not doing that. They're not. But
how about you?
But
that thought crossed my mind today.
When you start talking about anything past Easton Cowan or Minton, you're like, I want something that I like. I'm not taking your trying to get rid of guys.
Yeah.
It gets a little tricky.
I mean, it would be so Leafy for them to trade literally the only guy they've ever won a contract on with McMahon. Where they're just like, we're getting way too much value out of that guy.
Right now, McMahon and Nyes have almost combined for 40 goals. They've played 53 games. I think it's 21 and 17, respectively. Those are, I would say, going into playoffs, they haven't had a fifth guy, let alone two other guys who are scoring options like that in the past. So they're already ahead of the game with those two, but you lose one, that's true.
You give up Cowan, you give up Minton in a first rounder. It doesn't solve your cap crunch.
Well,
right? It doesn't.
Well, it depends. It depends if you're giving those guys up for retention as well, depending on what the contract is. I don't think you're getting retention on Dylan Cousins because he has so many years left. But
I mean, who Yarncrocs a number, Kampf's a number.
Those are good points.
Domi's a number.
Yes.
It's like those are the three numbers outside of your core guys.
Yarncroc's going to be interesting because is he going to have any games to play before they have to make a decision on him?
No. Well, I think I've seen it. We all know what you're going to get from him.
I don't think you can bring him back.
At all?
Well, at the end of the year, playoffs.
Well, I mean, what if he's healthy? No, you're not?
No, you're not. No, you're not.
What's Nick Robertson make? $825?
Nothing.
So
yes, $875.
There's a little bit of filler in the contract.
Morgan
Riley?
Yeah, you want to get Berube's thoughts on Morgan Riley?
Yeah, I'd love to.
He's been really good. I think tonight again, he had an earlier chance in the second two, going in backdoor. So he's definitely moving better and activating more and, looking to produce more.
Great. Very encouraging.
Playing faster.
Yeah. Very encouraging.
It was too slow before.
But it's crazy that this is a tangible change that he just made. That they were just like, we need you to do this more. And he's doing it more, and it looks way better. It's nice that there seems to be a fix.
Oh, it took him so long?
That's a great question.
I think out of the trip, the most encouraging things for me were 6 points out of 8, which is great. And then number 2 is Morgan Rielly looking somewhat like Morgan Rielly.
Stollar's back and looks good.
Yeah, but I still think, I mean, you're not pulling your hair out if it's just Wall and you got to work Stollar's back in. But like Morgan Rielly playing the way he was before this trip was definitely a big issue for the team. So but I mean, if there's one guy that didn't want to break, right? Like you finally get your mojo going back, you're finally feeling good, and then it's like you're gone
I bet
for 2.
Morgan wants a break.
Well, for sure. But like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. Starting to feel it a little bit.
Yeah, he's starting to feel a little better.
Someone tweeted, everyone's been making a big fuss about him having a newborn or whatever, and they're like, let's see if he's better on the road when he gets to sleep without the kid, hotel room, and just see if he plays any better. It's like, oh, he's played way better.
Can anyone defend the kid? We don't even know if the kid's like super quiet or it's screaming up all night.
Does he not have electricity? Is he churning butter at home?
Maybe the kid's knocking back 8 hours a day,
I don't have a kid. I have no leg to stand on, but like, you're making $7.5 million. Can't you get like some help with this? Like,
yeah, you can.
I don't know.
I couldn't.
Gotta think.
To me, it's not like having
Let's get a bigger house.
Doesn't
Go
everybody
find
have
a
a kid
room
in the
that's
NHL?
quiet.
Seems like it.
Aren't all of them having any? I don't want to speak out of turn. I already did. I guess.
I'm not one that goes to a screaming baby as an excuse for having a poor half season.
But he did look good on the road. I mean, those hotel beds rock. So maybe you're just getting really good night's sleep.
It's pretty good.
Did you guys want to touch on the Leafs 4 Nations related things?
Do you want? Oh, sure.
What did you want?
What's Berube want to work on coming out of the break?
Penalty kill. He mentioned. We can play it. Let's play it. Clip 6.
Well, we want to just kind of, keep focusing on our play without the puck for sure. Now there's areas our power plays improved dramatically, in my opinion. They're creating momentum even if they're not scoring. So our PK's got a it was pretty good on the PK this trip, but we kind of given up a little bit goals lately on our PK, and we got to tighten that up for sure. Like I said, there's for me it's when we get back playing again, it's going to be a grind. March is a real busy month, and it's going to be a grind. It's going to be a hard push because it's a very competitive league, and there's a lot of teams in it.
They go right into a back-to-back, I think, Carolina, Chicago.
Yeah, looking around the league, LA has it the toughest. LA has played the fewest games in the NHL, so they've played 53 times. So they have almost 30 games to go once they come back. That's hard. The Leafs are at 55. Most teams are 56, 57. So Leafs will have a fairly compact end of season schedule.
And just to mention the penalty kill thing, for the first time this year, the power play is ahead of the penalty kill.
Is that right?
Yep. The penalty kill is now, the power play is up to 12th, and I believe the penalty kill is 13th.
Yeah, power play since January is clipping around over 30%.
Yep. And the penalty kill's been leaking oil a little bit. You notice the lines from the 4 Nations there, Kyper? I thought you might notice the first line.
Yeah, I did. It's like I told you guys. Nobody listens to me.
They're on
What
the
is
right
it?
side of the. It is
Marner. McDavid got Marner.
McDavid, Reinhart, Marner. Is
That's
the
what I
top
told you
line
guys.
for Canada.
Yeah, McDavid got Marner.
I gotta say here, Kyper, this is high stakes for you. This is high stakes.
I'm sorry?
This is high stakes for you because this is a massive, massive opportunity for Mitch Marner. And we've had a lot of conversations on this show where it's been contentious at times, which is great for radio. But like, he needs to have a great tournament for like a lot of people in this market. Like if he goes out there, it's not looking good. He gets bumped down. Like it's going to be a massive inferno.
But if he gets bumped down, they're not even playing against the U.S. in the final.
But not in Toronto. This is turning into a countrywide story. Like we talk about Marner all the time here, but him being on that top line, the eyeballs are
This
on.
line is going to be so good.
So good.
So good.
I agree. Should be great. Should be really great.
The one takeaway
I'm just
I
saying,
have from
high
these
stakes
lines,
for Kippy. That's all.
But he could poop the bed, and he's still going to make like $13 million next year. I mean, maybe in another uniform,
Well, yeah.
but like I don't.
You don't think there's pressure to play on the top line for Team Canada?
So how is that any different from anyone else right now?
Well, because not everybody else is Mitch Marner.
No, well, that
and the superstar of the most popular team.
It just proves my point that like that's the scrutiny this guy's been on
For
that
sure.
that no one else has.
But that's what the money is for, playing in the biggest market in the country.
Yeah, but it should be the same for Matthews and Willie.
And it's going to be. Well, no, it's not going to be because it's Canada. They're not Canadian. But if they were Canadian, it would be. They're not Canadian. They play for the States. They play for Sweden. It's a totally different thing.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's birth certificate related or just
But
people
you can't sit here and say that him on the top line of Team Canada with McDavid is not way added pressure and way added stakes for a guy that sometimes under pressure hasn't gone great. That's it. That's all I'm saying, buddy.
Listen, who knows how it's going to look? I have no idea. And maybe
I think it's going to look really good.
Maybe Reinhart and McDavid get sent down to the second line, and then a couple of guys get moved up to Mitch Marner's first line. I don't know how it's going to shape up.
I love you, buddy.
You like that one?
I want to read these lines out. Can I read the lines out?
Yeah,
we'll get more into this in the. We'll get more into this in the national. It's Reinhart, McDavid, Marner, decent. Stone, Crosby, McKinnon, Jarvis, who was in for Konechny, who was sick today, but Jarvis, Point, and Marchand. And your fourth line of Hagel, Sorelli, and Bennett. Your top pair is Taves, Makar, Shea Theodore, Drew Doughty, Morrissey, and Colton Parayko as your bottom pair. Sanheim is the seventh defenseman.
Gotta tell you, it feels great to see Drew Doughty in there.
Yeah, Makar didn't give his number for him.
Makar didn't give his number
to Doughty.
Why would Makar have it first? He's Drew Doughty.
No, because he's a late ad. So Doughty's wearing 89 and Makar's wearing 8. Don't love that either. No. Anyways, we should go to break to get to Gordo, but there you go. There's the lines.
Can you imagine?
I don't know. Yeah, I should probably.
It's Drew Doughty.
It's Drew Doughty.
Norris Trophy, Stanley Cups.
Norris Trophy.
Hall of Fame coming.
Yeah.
Let's
give
him his number.
Should have given it up.
I'm sorry. Is that a closed thing now, or is that can still be done by Wednesday?
No, I don't think so. I think he was wearing 89.
I bet you Doughty was like I'm happy to be here. I'm late edition. I'm not.
There's no way they didn't have
he
a
offered it and he said no.
Right.
I'm going to wear another name.
I'm guessing that's what happened.
Yep.
How about throwing a puck in the corner and you throw in Jarvis, Konechny, Point, Marchand, Hagel, Sorelli, Bennett. Like I'm not going to that corner. Just an absolute rabid, ferocious group of forecheckers there. Love it.
Lots to look forward to Wednesday.
Yeah. It's Sweden.
Canada, Sweden. Game 1. Is it 8 p.m.? Puck
8 p.m.
8 p.m.
Sneaky one for Canada.
Tough game.
That Sweden team. Like I seeing it laid out. Good mix of players on that team. Anyways.
Okay. Let's take a quick break. We'll bring in Stellictricity. Always great to have Gord Stellick join us when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. Welcome back to the Real Kyper and Bourne show. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. All right. Let's not hesitate because he's like must-see TV podcast / YouTube / whatever we have. Gord Stellick joining us now. Sportsnet.ca does it all. Well, no, not really. You don't do anything on Sportsnet.ca. Forget that. Scratch that.
All the things you can say.
So I'm trying to build them up. Okay?
Well, now, you guys are Justin's on Sportsnet.ca. The last I did write for Sportsnet.ca was mostly obituaries that I was doing the last time. They were tributes that they were well done, well written. But anyway, hey, Kippy, you and I still with the Toronto Star, so I do a little bit of writing.
My last article was about how I thought four nations could come into play for particularly Austin and Mitch and Willie, and someone should be coming back with some juice, right? Do you like the fact that the Leafs have gotten 6 out of 8 points on this road trip and they're shutting down now? Or how do you view this break overall for the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Three Stars?
Yeah, well, I'm still, from that era where there was no such break. So I just feel you wind it down. Is it hard to wind it back up? I know it's been part of, and it should be, the whole thing about rest and getting breaks and what have you. Bruce Boudreau would talk about 2010. His Washington Capital team never really got going again after the long Olympic break. So I guess every team is kind of equal in this boat. I look at it more, Kippy and Justin, about, as you mentioned, what a great challenge for 3 players: Austin Matthews, Willie Nylander, and Mitch Marner. To have playoff style success. Like, one of them should be coming back with a gold medal. None of them have had any substantive playoff success with the Maple Leaf team, as we well know. So I'm viewing that particular part as a real positive. I think this Four Nations is a real positive for the Toronto Maple Leafs compared to probably most of the 31 other teams.
The only thing I do consider about it, Gord, is like they rely so much on their top guys. Is it a disadvantage that their top guys all have to go play hyper competitive hockey while other teams who are maybe less top heavy are resting their guys? Is the rest factor going to come back to bite the Leafs here, having them all involved?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I guess Washington's one team, maybe the only team that has nobody
None, yeah.
in the four, and in the four nations, and they're as good a team as there is in the NHL right now. I just think like I think this is different than the All-Star game. I think the All-Star game's a pain in the ass to appear to if you're among the elite players, and you do that every year. So I just think, and because this is so quick. I mean, this is like a kids' hockey tournament, right? And you're all of a sudden showing up, and you've checked into the hotel. And then you lose your first game, and you already start saying, "We better consume all those beers tonight because I think we're going to be checking out early tomorrow and driving back." Because one team will be doing that quite early in this or that kind of mentality. So I just think, and I talk about it. They all want to play best on best. Whether you're Sidney Crosby, a veteran, whether younger guys like Matthews, Marner, Connor McDavid, I mean, they always have wanted to. So this, to me, is a great hors d'oeuvre, a cocktail party getting ready for the Olympics next year. So I really look at the positives of this.
Our boy Sammy here has declared Mitch Marner tradable if he doesn't look good with Connor McDavid here in the next week and a half. So, in saying that, where is this style of play going to be different for you? What's it going to look like for Mitch Marner playing with a guy like Connor McDavid compared to Austin Matthews for you?
I think pretty much the same. I mean, geez, you're playing, and they get to play with a two-time first team, winger as well. I mean, great on great. It's more for a guy like Dolan being able to play for a elite country coming from the Buffalo Sabres, to get that kind of experience. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Edmonton Oilers have incredibly skilled players. So I guess it'll be another experience. But a lot of times guys like Mitch don't get enough credit for what they bring to whoever's on the line as well. So I just think it's a chance. Be the star. Be one of the stars. Whether you're Willie Nylander not wearing a shirt post game, or whether you're Mitch Marner for Canada, whether you're Austin Matthews, one of them is going to win it. Unless Finland's a big surprise, like Team Europe was getting to the final in 2016, and hopefully they're one of the stars of that particular thing. And for the other two, hopefully, whether it's Canada doesn't win, Mitch Marner the chance to play with McDavid, and I don't know, what do you get off playing with a guy who made it to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final? That intangible. We're looking for so many intangibles and how it'll factor in. I can't quantify it, but I can only think it'll be a positive.
The funny thing about being on Canada is, like, if the lines get shuffled, who are you going to get? Crosby, McKinnon, there's no demotions. You're playing with unbelievable players no matter what. So those guys are going to be a big part of the Leafs' push for a Stanley Cup this season. It seems like there's probably another player or two who currently aren't on the roster who are going to be a part of it, Gord. How desperate are they to go big? We talked before we had you on earlier on today about getting a Cousins or a Shen. Do you think there's enough there that they could avoid getting the big name, or are they going to have to pay a steep price to get quite a bit better here?
Yeah, I don't know what the market is. I think it's the time, if you're going to have a first round pick, the time of doing it for a hired gun is done. Okay. The Ryan O'Reilly, Nick Foligno era of making that kind of trade is over, and losing the player at the end. And, you guys have written about in Sportsnet, just even Carolina now kind of looking at, if they have no guarantees on Mikko Rantanen, he could possibly be in play again, because it's just a lot to give up for a hired gun. So even like when they got McCabe, he had term, and then he decided to re-up. And I just think those are the more positive kind of deals to make. There's no question they need more secondary scoring. There's no question. Whether, Max Domi does a great role. He can play any position on any line. That's a real positive. He played center last year in the playoffs. But those kind of guys have to give you more secondary scoring. The D-core has to give you more secondary scoring. And a new player or two, you hope that's something that could add. So I know that Braden Shen's got term left, so that makes it attractive, that kind of player to have in Toronto. So, let's face it, Brad Treliving looking to probably make more of a mark this year in what he goes out to do. It's the Vegas model. They're always aggressive, and they're aggressive, and their guys stay, and I think that's one of the things you want to try to find. Of late, the best way to get a new contract is to get traded, because it seems like it's in the works before you get traded 1 or 2 days later, whether you're Marcus Pettersson in Vancouver or Borgen in New York, you get a new contract.
The catch-22, Gord, is that even if they were going to go get a significant name, the cap won't allow it unless you move some money out. You mentioned Max Domi. He's just under $4 million. David Kampf is out there as well at $2.5 million, if I'm not mistaken. Are you okay losing these depth players to go get maybe a bigger fish at center ice?
Well, it'd be the kind of thing that you'd be, to your point, Kippy, it'd be again, are you able to get somebody in on the deal to be a banker that helps you do that? Because no, I'd rather like to keep the depth pieces, better than anybody. Well, that's one thing. First of all, your Ranger team, the depth you had in 94, but even look at Berube's team, just in 2019, like there were 15 different forwards that played the 12 spots, like they moved in and out. So ideally, if you do the Bank of Chicago or the Bank of whatever, that would be a positive thing on my wish list, because you want to try to keep the role players that could play a role in the hopefully play a significant role or a positive role in the playoffs.
As they gear up for the other side of this, Craig Berube, this will be his first playoff push with the Leafs. What impact do you think new coaches, obviously Savard new as well, and Lambert, what impact will new coaches have in giving it, I don't know, make it feel different than past years maybe?
Well, not as big a role as the new goaltending. Like if the new goaltending, plays like they have played, and seeing Stolarz come back was maybe as encouraging as anything the first game back. So as you know, Justin, the coaches will say that, find me a great coach, and more than likely you got great goaltending. And right now that's a huge plus for the Maple Leafs. So because the subtleties are intriguing, because there's this magic that Berube worked in 2019 as a coach, but the St. Louis Blues did as a team, but they only won one playoff round after that. So, you had 5 years where it's not like it worked every particular year, but the newness seems to quite often hit on the first year. So all the subtleties, I'm not aware of. Certainly, about the fact that seems to be accountability when you talk about the North-South game, the two-way game. It's not like Sheldon Keefe totally ignored it. Is there more of a buy-in? There seems to be. It seems that the players alone, just by burstage of maturity, becoming veteran players, are learning to be more and more complete players. So I've seen all those particular things, but the best thing I've seen is the goaltending, and when healthy, not elite defensemen, but the depth of the core 4D as being the biggest positives.
Gord, a few weeks ago, I wrote, maybe even further back, I wrote an article about how the Leafs should really go for winning the Atlantic or winning number one in the league. They were that close. Now we look at it, and although the Leafs were able to win 3 out of 4 on the road, I think the Tampa Bay Lightning Florida Panthers, ended up winning, I think, 5 of 6 in the last little while here. How important is the last 30 games here, 28 games, to go out there and still push for an Atlantic Division championship regular season?
Yeah, Kippy, I have all your articles in a scrapbook, so I'll check later on and text you back what day you wrote that article.
They're not pinned in your bedroom?
Well, no, let's not go there. No, it's in a respectable reading place. I have my ascot and my sifter of brandy and my pipe, and I sit back and just look at scrapbooks. So
I love that
later on. But just see that's a funny animal. What does it mean? Like, the two best regular seasons, Boston a couple of years ago, Tampa Bay years before that, they got eliminated, upset in the first round of the playoffs. So, but I do think in the Toronto situation, Kippy, you wrote about it. We've discussed with Justin, and I've maintained like make a difference. Go out and kick ass again. Like go out. Like show you're the top team in the Atlantic Division. Florida doesn't need to do that, okay, as much. But go out and set a message that we're going to get home ice advantage. We're going to kick ass when at home as well, and we're going to have it. It's going to be a difference maker in the playoffs. So I really subscribe to that. And the one downside of late is they started sliding back, and you're right, Florida went on a run. Boy, Tampa Bay's gone on a run again all of a sudden. I know the Leafs eliminated Tampa Bay a couple of years ago, but man, I don't like them being around either. So that I maybe the last third of the season they can pick that up again. They've gotten rid of a lot of the most difficult travel and really really hone it in instead of worrying about Austin Matthews getting 60 or 70 goals. And that's not a shot against Austin. I just mean last year it became kind of a strict distraction. Let's just get whatever that Craig Berube style he wants you to play, which every coach wants you to win. That's the style they play. The idea is to win and do that and possibly get back where you are first in the Atlantic Division. I think that's an important goal this year.
All right, Gord, last one for me before we let you go. Focus back on the Four Nations if we can. I want to get your thought on where this tournament will matter, rank, how it'll feel compared to historical best on best. I was trying to imagine when the final buzzer goes, are gloves going in the air? Is it a championship to that level? What do you think this tournament is going to mean historically for hockey fans?
Well, maybe kind of like the Challenge Cup was best 2 out of 3 in 1979. Granted, Soviet Union won the last game against Team Canada, so it's not a good memory for those of us that remember it. I think it's going to be kind of a one-off, that it's going to be bigger and better. I think it's a start to get every 2 years some big international event, one being the Olympics, then 2 years later, at least a Six Nations Cup, and maybe have a bit more of the. Maybe we'll find out you don't need the round robin. Maybe this will be the one that you said actually not having the round robin made it special. Otherwise, it's awfully quick. It's like so it's like I said, it's the hors d'oeuvre. Like the Olympics, we know you got the round robin and you can have a clunker like they did in 2002 against Sweden, for example, and go on. And that's kind of what we're used to in the World Juniors as well. So time will tell, but I don't think it'll resonate with big lights. I think the 2026 Olympics, particularly with the absence, the last couple of times of NHL players, will be much, much bigger when you look back.
So it's an hors d'oeuvre, but it's not a Dante's Fiesta.
It's not Dante's.
Right?
No, it's not. And I could have used one of those yesterday, Super Bowl Sunday as well. I was just focused on I'm eating better, but man, that football game, you kept going, seeing what's left in the kitchen. So
needed a little something extra yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, the Dante's Fiesta is next year, Kippy. That's for sure.
Gordo, you always give us a little extra on this show.
I appreciate it. So anyway, we'll talk soon. Enjoy the Four Nations face-off, right? We're supposed to call it that.
Yeah.
So enjoy the FFF.
When the three of us show up on your doorstep for Wednesday night, 8 p.m. puck drop, is there anything we can bring?
Maybe a Dante's Fiesta. How about that? We could, looking forward to it. And FFF, I think that's the marks we got in school as well. So that's why we're on the broadcast side. So
fresh off their Dante's Fiesta. With extra peppers.
What a drop.
Thanks for doing this, buddy.
See you guys.
Thanks, Gordo.
That is Gord Stellick, Toronto Maple Leaf analyst for Sportsnet 590, the fan, and former general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and provides nothing for Sportsnet.ca.
The Four Nations schedule, for those who don't know, Canada plays Wednesday, U.S. plays Thursday. Everyone plays Saturday night, which is going to be really cool. And then guess what? Canada plays at 1 p.m. on Family Day.
So anybody that goes 1 and 2 is basically out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Not basically out.
Out.
So if you lose on Wednesday,
That's a little pressure.
yeah, you lose on Wednesday, then it's immediately must win USA Canada on Saturday night at the Bell Center.
They go over 2. That's a disaster.
Summit.
The U.S.
Summit.
You're calling a summit?
We just call the pre-summit. U.S. has Finland Thursday at 8. It's going to be awesome.
Did you hear that? They called up some kid I'd literally never heard of for their decor.
Well, it's funny because...
Who's that, Finland?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think they have enough NHLers.
No. How good can they be, really?
But doesn't that make it best on best? They can call in non-NHLers? Didn't we have this conversation?
Their forward core is great, by the way. Their forward core is amazing.
Yeah.
Finland, but their decor
looking like
the zigzags.
on there?
Also, just looking at the standings quickly before we go Leafs Leafs thing.
Tampa right there, 2 points back.
Looking like a Leafs Tampa first round all of a sudden.
Totally have written off Ottawa now, right?
Oh, yeah. Hang the banner. They were once 2 points behind the Leafs. Hang the banner.
You take great joy out of sticking it to Ottawa fans,
And
don't
Vancouver.
you?
We got in trouble on Saturday.
Well, not we.
No,
you.
me
Yeah,
and Bunkus
you.
are in trouble.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, they're not
Good to
fans of
hear.
us.
Good to hear. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, Jason Bukala, Pro Hockey Group, former NHL scout, will join us. Don't go away. All right, let's kick it up a notch here. We go national on the Real Kyper and Bourne show. Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. In a couple of minutes, we'll welcome in Jason Bukala, Pro Hockey Group, Sportsnet, NHL scout, former. A lot to get into with him, including potential trade targets.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Team Canada, what his thoughts are, Four Nations in general.
Imagine if he was just like, I don't think they're very good.
What do you think his scout would be like? Oh, those lines. Good.
Yeah.
Not what I would have done, but
They'll be fine.
could you have messed it up?
They'll be fine. But as we go off yesterday, let's hope that that energy off the Super Bowl will follow us right to Four Nations.
What was the energy? Good or bad? It depends on who you're rooting for, I think.
Eagles energy.
Yeah, that I'll take.
What happened, Sammy? Like, you were like, don't bet against. Yeah, you should have bet against.
I will say, though, I did give out the Jalen Hurts first touchdown score on Friday. So
did, yeah.
I even mentioned the tush push. So they did the tush push to get the first score. I think that's, considering the stakes and considering how great we all think Patrick Mahomes is, that sets up to be one of the most stunning sort of, not even results, just the way it looked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just from the start of the game, he couldn't do anything.
They were never in it.
There was not one compelling moment.
First play, they were never in it.
Yeah, there's the overturn. There's offensive pass interference gets called early, and it's like, the refs are going to try to make this interesting. And then the Eagles made every play start to finish.
You're okay them losing, but not that way.
I mean, you give the commentators some credit. They're trying to drum up stakes, and it's like, buddy, it's over.
It must have been really incredible for Tom Brady to be calling this game, because he is, of course, the GOAT of football, one of the best athletes in pro sports history in terms of accomplishments, like number one, top up there. And everybody's been kind of been like, Mahomes, if he gets this one, he's starting to, and now that really pushes back the conversation.
And he beat Mahomes.
And he beat Mahomes. It's like every time Brady's present at the Super Bowl, he's calling it, he's playing in it, Mahomes loses. So I got to tell you, I'm thrilled they lost. Like, seeing sad Kelsey, they didn't show Taylor Swift at all. Patrick Mahomes, he really needed a little piece of humble pie. I really enjoyed that aspect of it, but I just wish it was a closer game. It just sucked. And the halftime show was a little bit underwhelming. Just not the best product from start to finish. Food at my Super Bowl party, though. Shout out Johnny Boy. Unbelievable. Well,
there's that.
It was amazing. The Peronis were ice cold, boys. That's all I got to say. Yeah.
And other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play?
Yeah.
That whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that halftime show, like, not for me.
Literally not for you.
For you?
Yes.
It was. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, into it.
That's okay. You're more probably the target they were looking for.
Generic white dude from Kelowna. I grew up listening to a lot of hip hop. It's always been kind of my thing.
Yeah.
He's awesome. But yeah, no, I get that it wasn't like not everyone's cup of tea.
I did rewatch it afterwards when I got home. My wife wanted to watch it again, so we watched it again. It's better on the second viewing. I heard Bunkus talking about it a little bit today on his show, that the sort of the overall feeling of the game kind of painted the feeling of the halftime show, which I agree with. But, I think you're right. I think it just wasn't for you.
Yeah.
This wasn't Bruce Springsteen or, well, that's what you would have, because we saw you dance at a Bruce Springsteen concert, so that's what you would have liked.
It was like 10 years ago, I think.
He did play a super.
Yeah. 2010,
I will say
9 maybe.
Kendrick Lamar's pants were awful. That's like the worst
I liked
pants. You liked them. Where's your flares today, brother?
Good flare, good boot cut flare there.
Oh, yeah. Not great pants.
I liked them.
But anyways, tough day for Drake.
All right, Sammy. Right into Team Canada, had their first practice today. The lines are official now.
Mm-hmm.
Everything we kind of mentioned, I think, end of last week, we anticipated Reinhart, McDavid, and Marner.
Got to tell you, I don't know how you feel. I know you don't really care either. Whoa, either of you guys don't care about international competition, like you've said to me all these years.
What?
Anyways.
Where's that coming from?
Yeah.
You guys have made fun of me for caring about Team Canada this whole show. The whole time we've done this show.
Is that accurate?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Maybe it was a turtle race between a Canadian turtle and a U.S. we made fun of you at watching.
You always made fun of me because I like the World Championships. I like every Team Canada thing.
No, I'll make fun of you when you like events that are not the best players and the best players. It's just an arbitrary thing when it's
That's what I said.
Spangler
It's
Cup.
the turtle race.
Right.
Anyways, seeing these lines, seeing these guys on the ice together, seeing my favorite coach, John Cooper, talk about the stuff and just having this be laid out in front of you, I truly cannot wait for Wednesday
Buddy,
night.
watching the videos today where like McKinnon and McDavid are talking about something, McCarr slides over and Crosby wheels in to join the chat. It's just like, what are they talking about? I want that access. It's so cool.
Really incredible.
All right, let's see if our next guest feels as strongly as our Sammy McKee as we welcome in Jason Bukala, Pro Hockey Group, Sportsnet, Puckpedia, former NHL scout. Liking the shirt today, pal.
Buddy, I wore it just for you guys, specifically Bourne, because Bourne knows I've been on a weekend Super Bowl extravaganza here. So I thought I'd just throw this beauty on for a couple of minutes here,
Just one more carbonated beverage after the weekend, eh? A bubbly shirt there. I like it. How was your Super Bowl experience?
Super Bowl was fantastic. The game stunk. It was such a letdown. We were surrounded by Kansas City fans that it's you think that Canadian hockey fans are passionate. Then you get around an NFL fan who's gone on a vacation for something like this, and I'll tell you, I had to take their shoelaces out of their shoes before I let them go back to the hotel last night. It was pretty downtrodden for sure.
He's at it. He's at the game, yeah.
So when did you went? Obviously, nobody told me you went.
No. I came down to. I'm in Mexico for the weekend with a group of buddies from back home. So
that's right.
Little getaway, little 4-day.
That's
jaunt
right.
here.
Soaking in
You
the
could have said
sunshine.
no, buddy.
So
Sammy, you're in the wrong job, Sammy. You got to be a scout, is what you got to be, Sammy.
So maybe 10 days from now, 2 weeks from now, will we be reading a cover of Sports Illustrated? What's wrong with the NFL Super Bowl and what's great about NHL in 4 seasons? Is that coming up? Or 4 nations?
No,
4 nations.
Yeah, no.
Oops. What do we expect out of it?
I think it's going to be really entertaining. It's going to just take a little bit to get going. That's all. I think that some people aren't really sure what to expect. With the European teams specifically, fellas, we've talked about this before. They're used to these international breaks. They take a lot of pride in these tournaments that they play in November and February. And certainly the guys who are in the National Hockey League who don't have that chance to obviously go back home and play in those European tournaments, they're going to be pumped for this. And I think we all should be on balance. I think we should all be excited. Anytime that you can get the majority of the best hockey players in the world, and I say the majority, obviously it's not totally best on best because of some countries not being involved in an event like this, but it's still pretty good. And I think it's good for the game. The more exposure, the more excitement. And but it might take a little bit to get warmed up here.
Well, just looking at the names, how big the names are, the star potential on Team Canada alone will focus them to start. Like, how can it not be great to watch? How can it, like their intensity, these guys led by Sid and Connor McDavid, the intensities, they only know a certain way to play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the puck is going to be ping-ponging around like it's, one of those rubber balls that bounce all over the place. It's going to be fast action. And the goaltenders and the defensemen, I'm really curious to see how all these defensemen, the NHL is a great league. It's the best league in the world. It's a track meet. There's all kinds of skill on any given night. But let's be honest, there's some holes in lineups where you can kind of take your foot off the gas a little bit. You get a little bit of a break. This is just going to be high octane all the time. And these guys are going to be under duress defensively. And Canada's going to have to run and gun to potentially outscore some of the holes in their lineup, I would suggest. But I can't wait to see the power play. That's just going to be fun in itself.
It had to be a tough call for Cooper. Looks like they got Reinhart in the bumper. It could have been Point. You've seen the success he's had with Tampa there, so that'll be fun to see. I would love to get your thoughts on the thing that we're kind of all not talking about because it's fun to see the lines. You wrote about the goalies. How's Canada stack up? Is it going to bury us?
Oh, I can't say that. I'm not going to go that far. There has been time. I had to take a break right in the article. I got to be honest, because I was getting to the point where I'm thinking, oh, wow, this is a problem. The reality is what it is. That's just where we are in our goaltending cycle right now. Binnington's won a cup. He knows how to get hot at the right time, and he's been in those high leverage situations. Obviously, when you stack up against, look at the U.S., Hellebuck, Ottinger. Look at Sweden, even with Gustafsson and then Allmark. And then you get down to Finland with Saros. So, Yeah, we're in a tough spot that way. But these are pros. These are NHL players. They're not bad goaltenders by any stretch. I'm concerned. I'm Aiden Hill in his last 10 games or 6 games that I kind of broke him down because I'm like you guys, right? I'm saying, who's going to be the starter? I think it's going to be Binnington, but does this guy deserve it, or is that? And in the last 6 games, Aiden Hill's allowed 4 goals or 3 or more in 4 of his last 6 starts. So I think it's Binnington, but we'll see how that goes. In his last 10 guys, if you want to go over a segment, it's like close to 3.0 and 879 or something like that.
Cool.
Yikes.
It's tough, right? It's different. I'll put it to you that way.
You're watching and listening to Jason Bukala, Pro Hockey Group, Sportsnet, former NHL scout. So in your scouting days, when you've had a player with a prolonged period of time where they've been off for a significant injury, whether you're thinking about trading one or getting one back into your lineup, what's the general feel on how quickly a guy can get back up to speed? Because I'm looking at Drew Doughty coming back barely a week and now going to play in this high-octane tournament.
Yeah, really tough. I would suggest that a goaltender or a defenseman is exponentially more difficult than a forward. You can kind of, especially if you're a winger, you can kind of hide in different quadrants of the ice surface and let your hockey IQ adjust to, however you're going to play the game. But you don't have to track the same way, and you definitely don't have to stop the puck the same way. So it's going to be tough for him, I think. I personally, I understand the sentiment. Obviously, he's a Hockey Canada guy forever, and he's a future Hall of Famer, all these types of things. But that's the sentimental point of it. I'm curious, if this was the Olympics, I'm curious if it would have went a different way. Like, I'm curious if it would have been, the other guys that were in the mix, like a Uyghur, for example, or, we could go down a list with a few other guys. But I'm curious about that. I think that being the 4 nations, it is what it is, but it's going to be hard on him. No doubt about that.
Books, when you look at Canada's roster, how do you feel 2 months removed from when the decisions were made? Were there a couple of omissions really glaring that they kind of want do-overs on?
I don't know. The goaltending for sure. Like Logan Thompson, I don't know. I don't know what happened in the process of selecting the goaltenders. I'm sure they gathered a lot of information behind the scenes. GMs talk to GMs, et cetera, et cetera. But obviously, as Logan Thompson's continued to play at the level he's played at, that stands out. It's just it's like a sore thumb right there. So that's the one. On balance up front, Marchand's now in conversations. Kyper's got him on the trade board, and there's different conversations there. I thought that he was pretty pedestrian in the build-up recently, and the argument's going to be made for guys like Scheifele, right, who's been doing really good. But let's be honest, every roster that you build for these types of events, there's always going to be that type of discussion, no matter what. And maybe they build a team different for the Olympics next year, and it's a Mike Babcock type of scenario where you want to win a game 2-1. I don't know. It depends on who's coaching it, or probably who the management team is, like how they all decide on these things. So debatable, but still pretty loaded roster, guys. And there's other guys that deserve to be there, and that's good news.
Books, one of the guys that people question, well, just because he's not the biggest name, is Seth Jarvis. I saw a quote today from Jarvis. He's sitting between Sid and McDavid in the dressing room, and he says, best seat in the house. And all I could think of is, like, is that management being like, we want this guy to be ready for the Olympics. We got to, give him the best opportunity to learn, or is that just pure coincidence that's his seat?
No, I think that that's absolutely calculated. And I think that a guy like that, when he gets named to a roster like this, depending on what his role is, even if he plays, did you see his quote, I think last week, Bourne? He said, if they want me to play right D, I'll play right D.
I know, I love that.
If they want me to stop pucks, I'll stop pucks. I mean, and that is, all joking aside, that is Seth Jarvis going all the way back to his junior days. This kid's super competitive, excellent skill, and obviously you see the player he's in Carolina. But that's a calculated move for sure, because you want to groom the next generation of guys and get them involved in the process, and that's part of it.
I know how you feel. Like right now, if someone said you can go to Mexico, I'd wear that shirt you're wearing. Anything?
Or if I'm a player, I'd definitely be suiting up for my nation. I'd wait for, and the schmillions that I'd be making, I'd have more than one of these shirts in the closet for later on. Don't worry about that.
Okay, you mentioned trade boards and names out there, and most intriguing for you out of all of them, could it be a Cousins in Buffalo? Because this one is still on its upside. Yeah, he's got the locked-in contract at 7.1, I believe, but still not sure what you're potentially getting or if you're Buffalo potentially trading away. And I've kind of compared him to maybe a similar situation that Buffalo was in with Sam Reinhart, where you thought you might be trading something and he turns into something much different here. Could that be the same for Cousins?
Yeah, if you're sitting in Buffalo's war room, absolutely. That's the biggest fear. If these discussions, and clearly these discussions are going on because this noise has been percolating for a couple of months, it seems now. So the number, there's so many ways that we got to divide up the pie here. And so if you start from Buffalo's perspective, absolutely, it's one of those fear factors that he's going to pop when he goes somewhere else. Listen, this kid had a great year 2 years ago, and it was not really a springboard yet to continued numbers that reflect what he did a couple years ago to earn that contract. But neither has the structure in Buffalo been exactly consistent. So there's a lot of moving parts there. If you get in a room that's more organized or more consistent, more mature for sure, that knows how to win more, not even just in the regular season. I mean, hopefully in the playoffs, that's the goal. He's probably going to pop off. And so on the other end, and if I'm acquiring the player and I'm worried that he's not going to do that, I have to think about what's the worst case scenario going to be for him. I still think that worst case scenario is going to be between 20 and 25. Worst case scenario is going to he plays in the 3 and he's a 2.5. I think he's a top 6. I think that he's going to move the needle that much going forward. The number, especially with the cap going up, is going to be super attractive, no doubt about that. One thing to be aware of here, though, guys, is that there's so many teams that I hear that potentially want these types of players, the middle guys, right? The Lautons, the Cousins, maybe the Shens in St. Louis. In Buffalo specifically, if you're the team that's trading for Dylan Cousins and you think that the Buffalo Sabres are going to retain any money there, they don't have a history of that necessarily. And next year and the year after, take a minute to look at how much they're paying Jeff Skinner not to be there. So the owner, who's going to pay him, I think, 6.5 next year, and 4 point something maybe the year after, the owner's not going to have any appetite to retain salary in a deal like this, let alone maybe even sign off on the deal because of what he's seen in the Reinhardts, to your example, Kyper. But that's at the top of the wish list. Young player, you got the control of him. He's affordable if he plays 3/4 of what he did 2 years ago. And I'd obviously, if I had the assets, I'd go after him for sure.
Okay, perfect segue into this question. I believe he's been linked to Toronto, Calgary, and Vancouver. So who has the best assets right now to satisfy Buffalo for you out of those 3 teams I just mentioned?
Probably, well, it's two different. Toronto does not, so we might as well just start with that. We'll put them in the 3 hole because a lot of moving parts there.
Minton and Easton Cowan can't get it done like other teams can for Toronto?
Yeah, I can. Absolutely. So that's curious that you position it that way. Can I take a second to address that?
Absolutely.
If you don't mind?
Go.
So when the cap is going, everybody, my perspective on team building with the Toronto Maple Leafs is fluid right now. And the reason is this, that I've been Debbie Downer on the draft capital and the assets coming through the system, right? But if you look at 2025, 2026, and their cupboards are relatively bare for draft capital, look where the cap is going in the next 2 years, guys. So what you can do is wait out to 2027, start spending that extra cap money that is obviously going up a lot, right? And they're in a position to do that. So that changes things. So when I come back to your ask, Kyper, on Minton and Cowan, if I really truly believe that I'm all in, yeah, that gets it going. But where's the money going to land? That's the problem. You're going to have to move out money as well. So, Camp will probably have to be involved in there. I'm fine with that. No biggie. But what are we, 2.2? And then, how am I going to get to 7, I guess is my question. I'm okay with the assets if we're all in, because I do believe things are going to plane out in the future, if that makes sense to you guys, just because they're going to have the flexibility to spend money and some teams won't. But going out west, Vancouver and Calgary both have a lot more flexibility. Calgary's got the most flex cap-wise, obviously, but they both have better assets. Calgary's got some guys coming through the minor system right now that they've drafted recently. Matt Figredine playing in the Quebec League, Basha playing for Medicine Hat, obviously cap money. In Vancouver, I'm not so sure, like, do they include a Lekkerimäki and something like that because he can play the wing in the middle? Do you go to the Tom Willander kid who's playing at BU? I don't know. These are the types of asks that Buffalo would surely be targeting. And they've got those types of players. But if you're throwing Minton and Cowan into the mix that I just compared all that to, I'm okay with that. I'm still not sure where the money goes or how that figures itself out. But my flexibility radar in terms of how Toronto can build things here in the next couple of years, because the cap's going up so much, has changed a bit.
So, Books, maybe you can fill our listeners in on how the pro scouting process works. Because, we're talking here, we talked about Braden Shen in the first hour. And we're like, where's his game at? Here's his stats. But, how often do you get to really analyze his game? Dylan Cousins is a name obviously coming up. So, you were involved with the Florida Panthers in a big way in their scouting operation. What would it look like? How would these decisions get made when you have to evaluate guys who are currently in the NHL?
Okay, so you walk into the meeting, and let's just say there's a group of, it doesn't matter how many. We've done a lot of homework before we get there because we don't want to waste any time. So your general manager says, okay, let's make up our A list. What's our A wish list? And if you go Cousins, Lawton, Shen, let's just use that as an example, okay? And then your next column is salary and how many years in term. Of course, it includes age. No trade clauses, yada, yada. Now you start looking at, okay, how do we value our internal scenario prospect-wise, draft capital-wise, in relation to where we want to spend money, and how does it affect our offseason if we want to take on a guy with term? So if you're going to take on a guy with term like Cousins, what's the trickle-down effect to the Nye scenario, the Tavares scenario, the Marner scenario, all these things? You have to factor it all in, and it's like you're piecing together a puzzle. The thing of it here that really, if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, and if I'm in their war room, that you have to be very aware of is that you're accruing cap dollars on a daily basis right now, but they're chasing it, guys. Other teams have more cap space today than the Toronto Maple Leafs do. Their cap space will look a lot different if the roster stays the same as it is today. Come trade deadline, it'll be up around, I don't know what you probably have the number in front of you, 3-5. I'll just throw it out there. It's in that vicinity, okay? But the thing is that all these other teams, and this is where you have to be super aggressive, these other teams, they don't need to accrue time. So when you're starting to get aggressive because those other teams have got more cap right now, they don't need to wait to trade deadline. So you really have to either have a deal in the drawer that makes sense, overspend potentially with a prospect or a future asset, call it a first rounder in 2026 that you might not want to give up. You have to be prepared to do that earlier when you're chasing money, trying to get to the trade deadline to have max dollars. I know that's a mouthful. There's a lot of moving parts there, but you start at Cousins, then you go to the Lawtons of the world, the guys that are making 3. And then, I'm not so sure they don't need a defenseman here too. So that's got to be part of the equation. If you're going to target a Mario Ferraro, for example, and a Scott Lawton or, somebody else in the league, are we better with 2 of these guys than we are with Dylan Cousins? Like, you have to ask yourself the question, do these 2 guys make us a better team at the same dollar value compared to this? And does that mean we can move Minton in this deal, Cowan in that deal, a couple of draft picks here, a couple of draft picks there, and it changes the landscape that way? So I have to be clear about something here. I'm leaning that way. I kind of feel like they need another defenseman. I'm not so sure I want to go all in on Cousins. I'd love to have the asset, trust me, but I'm not so sure that for a playoff push this year, they're not like Colton Sissons. I don't think very many people talk about Colton Sissons, but he's coming off a year last year. I think he had 15 and 30 last year. The Preds are a tire fire this year. We know that. But listen, he kills penalties. He's like 57% in the face-off dot. He's not going to be as heavy hard as Shen or Lawton, but he's 2.2. And then you get Ferraro at 3.3 with term.
Right.
You see how I'm kind of trying to plane this out here a little bit? So I don't know. We'll see.
Adding to the complexity of a scout would be like one week you're in it, 1 week you're out of it. Like I'm looking at the Islanders, I'm looking at
Montreal.
Not Montreal, but Ottawa obviously is in a position to really go for it here still. But like, how does that affect how you prepare? And I don't know, are you just walk into a meeting at trade deadline and you're prepared for being a buyer and a seller at the same time?
Yeah, you better not. You better be way prepared to like now, like beginning of February, you better be prepared. It's going to be upper management, capologists, general manager, assistant GMs. You've already provided them as much information as you can. There's a whole book of resources for them to reference, so they don't have to reach out to every guy on my staff by that time. They have the flexibility to go either way, I guess is what I'm trying to tell you, Kyper. We've done our job at this point. We've given them all the information, and now they got to fit it together. And there will be a call, like Al Tour, our director of pro in Florida back there, and Pronger and McCabe and Lou. These guys will get a phone call, and it'll be whatever it is. Maybe I'd be on the call, but we wouldn't get everybody back together. All the work would have been done, because if you get caught with your pants down on March 9th and you got an hour and a half to figure it out, let me tell you, you talk about stress. It's brutal.
Yeah. Last one for me. I already said last one. I know. Can Finland or Sweden win the Four Nations?
Yeah, I never roll out the Finns. The pesky Finns always find a way to be a thorn in everybody's side. The Swedes, absolutely they could. It'll be depending on the goaltending. Yeah. Gustafsson, maybe he's the guy. But likelihood of it, not really. That American team, fellas, that's a juggernaut.
He's damn good.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
There's no holes. There's no holes. It's a hell of a team. Wow.
Book's always a pleasure, man. Enjoy the rest of your little cruise. Are you ever going to come back, or are you going to wait for an expansion team in Mexico?
I'm on my way back tomorrow morning. I hear the weather's going to be brutal. So with any luck, I'll get storm stayed for a day or two, and I'll catch up with you guys later.
That's what I do. Soak it in.
Right back to the beach, buddy. Thanks for doing this.
All right, boys. See you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Books.
I love talking to him.
What a guy.
Yeah.
You said you
but
say
you
no
call
to
me when I'm in Cabo.
Yeah, listen, the sure thing's drying up. Anyways, it's nice of him to come on. He was great stuff.
And the sun's still out there. He's missing out on prime tanning time.
I mean, it's 20 minutes at 2 p.m., I guess.
He's doing pretty good.
Yeah, doing
That's
good.
great.
All right,
so
what do you got for us?
I just, he mentioned the American team there, and I don't know, do you guys have it in front of you? Not underwhelming. I would never say that it's underwhelming, because they have a lot of good players on that team.
Well, let's just start now with the decision by Quinn Hughes, because everybody sat on it.
Massive.
Right? Sat on it for a week and a half. Mm-hmm. And it's clear when you're talking about great players, powerful guys in our game now with the voice, and not only their level of play, but their voice, right? And it's like, hey, what do you think? You decide, which is kind of interesting for me still. But it was clearly his call. Vancouver left it for him, and he should get a little bit of some credit here for looking at the big picture. And it wasn't an easy decision for him to say, I'm not participating.
I mean, he must just not be able to, more or less. But I will say, it does change the Four Nations face-off. Like, Quinn Hughes was
game changer.
Hart Trophy candidate this year. He's probably the U.S.'s best player.
And while Jake Sanderson has really come on for the Ottawa Senators, and his style of play, he can carry the mail, but not to the extent that we've seen.
It's not disrespectful to say Jake Sanderson isn't
not there
Quinn
yet.
Hughes.
Not there
That's
yet.
not.
I mean, I would understand the stylistic fit in terms of replacing him with Jake Sanderson in terms of an offensive guy who can walk the line. But I mean, Quinn Hughes could win MVP this year. It's hard to replace that kind of guy. And on Sportsnet's website, Ian McIntyre, the headline of his article is Quinn Hughes putting Canucks first with decision to pull out of Four Nations. I think if you're a Canucks fan, you're obviously really happy because you're a Canadian, most likely. So you're like, well, they have a better chance to win. But that does make you feel great if he's the captain of your team. He's clearly banged up. He's missed how many games in a row? He doesn't play on Saturday night against the Leafs. For him to make that decision, it's a pretty mature one. You don't think there's any, you said there's just no way he can go?
I think if he could, he probably would push through. It's pretty important. The American team hasn't had the type of moments that Canadians have had. I think this matters a lot to them. And, he's probably not good.
The other thing, too, is he's got an injury that if he messes with it, could kill a season.
Yeah.
And that's just not a reason enough to take a chance.
No, I'm looking for the American roster here, looking for their lines. I don't know if you have it somewhere, Sam, but the lines are interesting.
You have it in front of you?
I don't.
Okay, here, I'll get it for you. Give me one
It's
second.
Gensel, Matthews, Jack Hughes, which I tweeted today. It kind of reminds me of the Leafs doing the Tavares, Marner, Nylander things. Like, I don't think there's anyone there who's going to go get the puck. Like, I love all the players, but don't you want to throw Brady Tkachuk on that line or someone go to the front of the net, go get pucks for him?
Here it is.
All right, let's have it.
Kyle Connor, Jack Eichel, Matthew Tkachuk is the top line.
Connor, Eichel, Tkachuk. Okay.
Yeah. Second line is Gensel, Matthews, Jack Hughes. Third line, Matt Boldy, JT Miller, Brady Tkachuk.
Dogs.
Throw those guys out there against Hagel, Sorelli, Bennett, please, and watch a explosion of hockey on the ice. And then the fourth line here is Brock Nelson, Vincent Trocheck, Dylan Larkin as your fourth line.
Kreider on the outside.
Yeah, they're D-pairing Slavin, Fox, Werenski, McAvoy, Hannafin, Brock Faber.
So good.
See, I am curious.
I still think Canada's way better.
If Austin Matthews, who is just as pure of a shooter as we've seen in the game's history, become more of a playmaker in this year in this type of
He's
series.
not a playmaker. Oh my God.
No, but he can be. He can be.
Okay.
I don't know.
Steph Curry can dunk, but you don't want him going to the rim all the time.
No. That's just a horrible. I want to see if plays if plays last longer than one and dones that we've seen when he shoots the puck. That's all.
To me, you want a
I-
Ferrari to be a pickup truck. He isn't a pickup truck. That's all.
So Gensel's going to just feed him all night?
But Gensel's not really. I
That's
don't
what
think.
I'm saying someone
right?
else on that line would be a better fit. But no, yeah, Gensel, Hughes, yes.
I don't know. I just look at this and I think they're really good. I do, but I think Canada's better.
Yeah, I think the fourth line, and particularly once you take Hughes out of the equation, feels like there's an edge there for Canada.
They were doing okay.
Big goaltending, probably edge to America. I would say
a large one.
Probably say
That's-
edge to the States
that's
there
a
on that
swing
one.
thing.
Although I've seen Hellebuck in some big games.
Are there any games at all for game time?
I got some stuff for game time.
You do.
Ew. It's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. So there's some future stuff for the Four Nations, which I found very interesting. As I quickly lose it on my screen here, I got it back. So to win outright, the Canadians, as you would imagine, are favorites. They're plus 140 to win the tournament. States second at plus 150. So Bet365 thinking it's going to be a pretty close. Sweden, tons of value there for me at plus 425. And Finland is a long shot at plus 850. They're not giving the Finns much of a chance in this. Looking at this to me is very interesting. Top point scorer in the tournament. Connor McDavid is plus 650 to be the highest scoring player in this tournament. I think that's great value. I think he's going to be playing in how many games they have, right? They play the four, in the final. That to me is a great bet at plus 650. The second favorite is Nathan McKinnon at plus 800. And Austin Matthews is the third favorite at plus 1,500. Then it goes down to Barkov, which I find interesting. So heavy favorite.
Jack Hughes.
Jack Hughes is the next one after Barkov at plus 2,000. So
You're onto some value there.
yeah.
Well,
Because if the Americans win.
but if Austin's going to be up there, it's going to be Jack Hughes getting him the puck.
Yeah.
And the top goal scorer, so just straight goals, the favorite you would imagine is Austin Matthews. Braden Point, second favorite, plus 10-1. Connor McDavid 10-1. Reinhardt 10-1. Jack Hughes 12-1.
Braden Point.
Yeah, and Nathan McKinnon 15-1. So some good value there. I guess they figured the line he's on, and maybe he's going to be doing some more finishing, but he is currently on the third line of Team Canada. I would imagine he moves up. That is a prediction of mine for Braden Point.
Oh, yeah.
If you really want to go, Kyle Connor, not a bad bet either at 25-1. Anyways, that was Game Time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
And no mention of Sid Crosby in all of that.
No.
Sid
Okay.
Crosby, I mean, yeah.
That means we'll have a discussion with Sid and what we can expect out of Sid and how quickly could Sid be an X factor coming off an injury. Plus,
Got some Cooper clips too.
we got John Cooper and
clips.
in our first hour, we talked about Makar not giving up the number 8 for Drew Doughty. I'll tell you why.
Oh.
You already
It's
know?
the number one reason why that never happened after the break.
All right.
You're watching and listening to Real Kyper and Bourne. Welcome back into the Real Kyper and Bourne show. As a reminder, this hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Sidney Crosby, what?
You make me laugh. So, I literally sit here and just,
I amuse you? What, I'm funny?
Yeah, you made me laugh.
Pesci now? Am I gonna have
get
to...
your shine box. Tough crowd here. Anyways, you're just literally right before we go to break. We sat here and said nothing other than bull crap. And you're like, what are we going to talk about? It's we got lots to talk about.
And then you just broke an ownership story.
Yeah,
So
A-Rod's now the owner of the Minnesota Timberwolves. He won over some other guy, Glenn Taylor. Feels like if I'm a fan of a team, A-Rod as my owner is not the most enticing endeavor.
Stability is not there, maybe. I don't know.
Don't love that. No.
Turn it into a circus? A celebrity circus?
There's just few athletes I've ever hated as much as Alex Rodriguez. Alex Rodriguez is on my Mount Rushmore of most hated athletes. Yankee, just not my fave. I mean, not my fave.
Yeah. You're always weary of that athlete who's, you just know, in the heyday of his career, he's just a dick.
Yeah. And
I despise that,
right?
dude.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they become personable or media friendly. And it's like,
anywhere else,
can you not see right through it?
He played for the Yankees. I don't think he would have chosen the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota was not his. He wanted a piece of a franchise, and that was one he could get his hands on.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like he's finally I can relocate to Minneapolis.
One of the most detestable things ever was in that famous comeback they had, and Bronson Arroyo goes to cover first base, and he just slaps the ball out of his gloves. Oh my God, I've never hated an athlete more. He's the worst.
Anyway, that was random.
Anyways.
Speaking of a guy that's as consistent as ever from the moment he put on skates, Sid.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people feeling like he saved himself a couple of games last week for Team Canada.
Well, it helps both his teams. The Penguins need to lose. Sid wants to play for Canada. If he didn't play, he rested up for Canada. Made perfect sense. So, yeah, he's been the biggest shame of his career is that there hasn't been anything for 8 years that he could be a part of. Obviously, from the golden goal and just great play in a Canada sweater for years, it's long overdue to see again.
When you look at what's potentially the future of the Pittsburgh Penguins, between Four Nations and the Olympics, this is it. This is the only juice he's going to get out of the next few years.
And I hate the thing I'm about to say, but I hope he's in the Olympics. I hope he's good enough in a year.
Oh, he'll be there.
Oh, in 12 months?
He's there.
You're not, even if he goes down 5%.
Yeah.
You have to lose a limb to not be there, bud. He's
close.
There. Yeah.
Close for me.
Yeah. I'm sure
Do you think he can drop that much where it's debatable whether he's going to be a part of the Olympics next year?
I mean, he's 58 points in 55 games this year. If he's 48 points in 55 games next year,
playing with plumbers,
there'll be a ton of really good Canadians who are above him, and he's a million tiebreakers. If he's the 50th best Canadian forward, we'll take him. Yeah. So, yeah, I think he'll be there. I am very confident.
Oh, you've
Marchand's the other
seed,
story,
my friend.
Marchand's the other story. Marchand is the one where it's he's the pedigree Team Canada guy that everybody.
Do you think if he was not
Marchand
targeted, if you think he was not targeted as a face of the team months ago, I don't know when they officially came out.
The original six guys.
The original
out,
six.
yeah.
Marchand, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I don't think he'd be there.
You don't think he'd be on this team right now?
Scheifele is unbelievable this year.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Zach Hyman had a month and a half of a low shooting
Tom
percentage.
Wilson came up large.
Wilson, yes.
Macklin Celebrini's filling the net still looks unbelievable.
Yeah. No, I think the Brad benefited, and again, maybe in the top 25 Canadian forwards and a great player and a good Canadian and all that.
See, in the first hour, you kind of mentioned Marner. If he doesn't have the camp, that how that would affect moving forward. See, Marchand, if he doesn't have a good Four Nations, how does that affect the Boston Bruins moving forward on signing him? If they decide to sign him, and not trade him, what kind of contract he
You
would
think
get.
his showing in this tournament will have some
I think
impact
if
on
he
that?
could show that he could dominate or keep up or
Dominate or keep up or two.
one of them. Some you know what I'm saying, no? Like
Playing with Point and Jarvis on this, probably Konechny and Jarvis.
if he can show that he
No,
can
Konechny
be
and
still a dominating kind of left winger in this, it does change the way I think the Boston Bruins may feel about signing him or giving him an extra year on a contract.
I just think such a small sample, such a weird event to place any sort of contract
But
related.
you can tell, regardless, you can tell who can keep up.
You'll see him against the best.
Right?
Yeah.
You'll see him against the best. They're skating 1,000 miles an hour. Who can keep up? Who's making plays? Who's thinking quickly? Right? Who's making right decisions out there? See, for me, Marchand's the guy that I think the Boston Bruins are going, what are we going to do with him? Sign him? Is he one of those just those legends, Boston Bruin legends, where we just can't envision him traded or
Pretty
moved
close.
away? Like he's
Pretty
a captain.
close.
Does he need to retire here?
like, is he in the same, not the same conversation as Sid, but like a smaller conversation similar to the Sid one with Pittsburgh, where it's like you never want to see him playing in another uniform. Are you going to give him 3 years?
Bergeron is a better example.
Sure, we'll use Bergeron as an example. But like, are they going to get? What's he going to ask for in the open market?
You know, people
He probably
talking
gets
about
7 or 8 on the open
could
market from
Toronto
somebody.
get Marchand?
Oh my
Everyone was
God,
talking-
please. Please, God.
Well, but there's just no conceivable way.
No.
He probably would retire if he was traded to the Leafs.
You think so?
But the one thing I do think
likes
is
the-
if the relationship
spotlight.
sours, the only thing that stands out to me is these really competitive guys. Like, remember Brett Favre was like, I'm going to play for the Vikings.
Really
after
good on the
Green Bay.
Vikings. Really good on the
Because he
Vikings.
was just like, to hell with Green Bay. They don't want me. That's your only chance as a Leaf fan
Yeah.
is that he's so mad at Boston.
And you got to remember, too, in his best years with the Bruins, they all managed to get these guys locked in under value. They 6.5 is a good salary, but it's not
He's worth
8.
10
It's
for-
not 8. It's not 9, and it's not 10.
He got Hart Trophy votes for years.
So now you're like,
think.
what kind of deal does he want moving forward? I think on an open market, he could look at a Stamkos contract out of Nashville.
Definitely. I mean, everybody
But will-
goes
But
crazy on free agency day.
will Boston give him 8 times 3?
I don't know. It just comes back to the conversation we just had. If they care enough about him being the all-time legend and staying there for a long time, then probably. But if they don't, no.
He's been making 6.5, and he had Hart Trophy votes in 5 straight seasons.
Underpaid his whole career. That contract.
He's gonna want to. Someone's gonna have to buck up a little bit here and still what he may consider prime years for him.
He's so competitive, though. Like, you can't see him going to a bad team for more money.
That's exactly what I was going to say. What's the team
Yeah.
that's like not close to the cap? That's like a
Do the
contender.
Ducks want to,
Yeah.
put 'em around
Killorn 'em?
their young guys? Yeah.
Or like,
Killorn
Oil-
never made any money.
Yeah,
so
but
he was
Colorado
he made sense.
all day long. Colorado.
Yeah.
Can he fill in Rantanen for a year or two?
Yeah, that's a good fit. Oilers, they don't have
I
the
mean,
money
but
to do
he's
it.
also going to be half the value. Yeah,
8
half
and
the cost
8.5.
of Rantanen, yeah, for 3/4 the value.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
You're talking about one of the better left wingers so far in the league. Now, where you think he stands today, I'm telling you, a good week and a half here would go a long way.
I think the Stamkos thing's a cautionary tale for this, where everybody still thought he was. I mean, Stamkos had a good year last year. Didn't he score 40 goals last year? Like, then you go to a different situation, worse team, away from some good players, and you're out of the where you're comfortable with, and it goes badly. It feels like it's a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
It does. But
You teased before the break the number thing.
Yeah.
what was the number? Oh,
Cale
right.
Makar.
Yeah, right.
Keeping number 8, Drew Doughty, wearing 89, I believe.
Just strictly merchandising thing. You know how many thousands of Makar number 8 jerseys they're going to have for sale in the next
Like they're
week
already
and a half?
made?
They're made. They're in shops. They're hanging up on walls right now. You can't go and change his number right now.
Yeah, so if you missed it in the first hour, we talked about
Yeah.
this and basically said,
Drew Doughty.
you got to give Drew Doughty,
Number
future
8.
Hall of Famer, Norris Trophy winner, Stanley Cup winner, you got to say, here you go, sir.
Number 8.
But,
But they're already made.
yeah, okay.
And they're
you know what?
thousands of them.
And, yep, that makes sense.
Yeah,
And I'm sure Doughty doesn't care. He's a hockey player. He's not a...
89 on Doughty, though. It's like,
But why 89?
year he's born.
That's what he said. Still don't like it.
Hey, do you guys want to hear?
Pretty simple.
You guys want to hear
Money. Money.
Yeah, that's always the answer.
How about a John Cooper clip on his starting goaltending for the Four Nations face?
He's a guy, I hate it.
You have that clip for me, Derek? Let's just play clip 4 on his starting.
Would you care to share your starting goalie for Wednesday evening with us?
I'll share that with you tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
I gotta tell them first.
Maybe just in general, what's your thinking on the goaltending? Is it a rotation? Is it like what's it look like to you, or how do you imagine it playing out?
I think this is too short a tournament to make that call. It's not like World Championships where there's a whole bunch of prelim games and you can put guys in and out. I think for everybody, that includes forwards, defensemen, everybody. I mean, this is it. You can't. You lose your first game. Now, what? And so this is everybody's here to perform, and everybody's going to try and do their best. And as a coaching staff, we don't feel it's getting done, then we'll make a change. But it's not like anybody can't do it. Somebody's got to be put in the net first. But like I said, it's I don't see it being a rotation.
Wow, great question. Great audio. That was wonderful.
No Zamboni or Zambonis
No,
in the back.
that was
No.
they weren't.
I can see him going to Bennington first.
To Bennington first?
Yeah. I could see it.
I think the only other option is Hill. I don't think they'll go to Montembeault.
No, I agree with that.
And for the record, I like Montembeault as a goalie, but the other guys have won cups. This is short. We're not trying to find out if a guy can do it. They need someone who's won in big games for sure.
So it's like, I don't know if people realize how short of a tournament it is to.
I mean, it's 3 games.
Lose
It's not 4.
the first
it's
game.
3 games to get to the 4th.
Somebody loses the first game, and then they are must win.
Honestly, if Bennington starts and he gives up 2 goals in the first 10 minutes, you might see Hill. Like, it might just be like, we don't have time to let someone find their way.
Well, Jordan Bennington finished his first before the break with a win. He 5 up to Chicago, but it was a win.
It was a win.
And what's the deal now? They're giving away 3 points for win.
Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, can I tell you the thing I love
They're
about this?
changing a couple of things
Overtime is 3-on-3.
for 10 minutes.
And then a shootout.
Okay.
Where do we all have to get to? That we can't watch these guys play 5-on-5 best on best hockey till someone scores.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's not happening.
Because they got to.
They don't want to.
Can we do another period of 5-on-5?
No.
No.
Other
Why
guys
not?
are on a beach, and now we're going to play all night.
Do you want the event to
Okay,
be taken
seriously?
seriously or not?
So gold medal game or whatever
If you-
medal game, they're going to they're going to 3-on-3 for the overtime.
There's
Yes.
not a chance with all of these guys playing 3-on-3 for 10 minutes that you ain't getting a goal.
No, you'll get a goal.
Yeah, it's
the
true.
worst
Okay.
case scenario, though, is that this tournament ends in a 3-on-3 overtime because we're all going to go, well, that wasn't hockey. We didn't get a winner.
No, but everybody will say that was highly entertaining, and that's what they want the most.
Hey, quick
You're
sad note to finish off the show here, but I thought I would mention this. Paul Morris, voice of Maple Leaf Gardens, long time, and I passed
Oh,
away today.
really?
Yes, yeah, long time
Oh.
voice of the Garden. So a little bit of a sad note to end the show there, but
Can I-
legend. You got a story?
No,
Oh.
just other than, like, I only knew his voice,
Yeah.
and I only knew it with my heroes, Sittler, McDonald, Salming.
Mhm.
And then the first time I heard him say my name
Oh, my God.
was just one of those moments.
Wow.
It was really, really out of body experience.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's super trippy.
Toronto goal scored by a number.
We had
Great impression.
one of my junior games. Jim Houston was just in the building, and he called announced the goals or whatever. And just hearing him, and I can't imagine it in the NHL level how cool.
You know
that
what's
is.
really cool though? The Leafs still today will throw his
Yeah, in the retro nights.
last minute to
Yep.
play,
Yep.
which is really good. And
Yep.
I hope that's a nice royalty for the family.
Yep. I don't know.
It's probably
Hey, get a good lawyer. All right. Our thanks to Jason Bukala and also Gord Stellick in our Leaf Hour edition. Tomorrow,
1 hour.
1 hour, we go live at 5 p.m. Eastern. Keep that in mind the rest of the week as we start officially our Four Nations run here. Have a great night,
Relationship.
everybody.